I don't know how
That-
easy that's going to be, but we
Well-
started doing a stream earlier, and for some reason it dropped it into some weird bucket, and we found it, but for some reason it wasn't online, and it was telling us it was live. We took screenshots and stuff so we can try to work it out later, but I mean, so be sure to go play that, view that one if you want to hear the music. But of course, there's not any video to it, but we'll put video there later. But we want to give you this public service announcement to remember when burning, looting, and killing was mostly peaceful. Apparently, the people that went into the White House have taken laptops and put them in the hands of somebody. They said that Trump has their laptops or something. How ridiculous! I've been reading and I have reported from some websites that I hope he does have them. I hope he does have Pelosi's laptop. That would be great. All I need, I'm going to start out with this. I mean, basically, I instead of like just watching any one source on the 6th, I don't know if you remember. Remember, I said I'm just going to soak it all up.
Yeah, absorb it.
Yeah, and so I didn't want to watch any one source, so I just kept bouncing around from source to source, and then the official sources too, right? And they're saying that, I remember when they said the patriots have now stopped the proceedings in both the House and the Senate, and the Capitol building is in lockdown. And I'm watching these videos, and I'm seeing these dudes dressed in like semi-camo and gray and stuff like that. One or two of them would have a MAGA hat on. And these guys were lining up like they had a well-planned attack. Like these guys went through a window. The guy took a riot shield. Where did he get the police riot shield from? I don't know, but he's taken the riot shield. I posted pictures of all this stuff. Excuse me, I haven't coughed all night, but of course, right when we go live. And this guy was jamming the riot shield through the window at the Capitol, and there's 4 or 5 guys around him, and they're giving orders and they're talking. And like I said, I went through because I go through video like frame by frame. I've learned, I've learned to look at the images closely and process them. Don't talk, you know what I mean? Like I told you, what did I say? I was for a couple days. I was gonna, I don't know.
Just, wait to make a decision on what you see.
Yes.
Not just believe what they tell you.
Process it all, right? And not don't believe what anybody tells. Were you watching that at all, Gino?
Yeah. Well, I dropped off today, but I was aware of it, and it was just,
today.
Yeah, I didn't watch anything today, but
No, I'm talking about the 6th. I'm talking about the 6th when all that shit went down. Trump told us it was going to be. Trump told us it was going down. He said there's some big things happening the 6th. Now, you know what? I think he knew that what they were going to pull in the Senate and in the House. I think he already knew what they were going to pull. And I think that either they knew or didn't know that Antifa was going to infiltrate the crowd and cause that trouble. But there's no doubt in our minds at this point that they did. We've already identified several of the people, even the guy that says, I was just there to observe, But it's obvious. I mean, there's already at least 4 or 5 of them, the guys that were in the front. And then there's the other video where these guys had a plan, and they walked up and they scaled up on top of this window and were bashing their way through the window. And all the protesters like, that's not us. That's not us. Those people aren't with us. And they started going, they started yelling Antifa. And they were pulling them down off the wall. Did you see that video? Where they were pulling the guys down, like, don't do that. Don't do that. No. Now, it's always really interesting to me because whenever they pull one of these, like, Ku Klux cluster operations, these fucking idiot Democrats that, and I'm not talking about the supporters. I'm talking about the politicians. Whenever they pull some like some kind of an op, either whether it's by contract or if it's a psyop or if it's, they use Intel or the FBI, whatever they're doing at that time. It's so obvious because their timing sucks so bad. It's like their timing is so perfect that it's terrible. In other words, anybody who knows the shell game or 3-card money,
Mm-hmm.
anybody who has gone to a carnival or whatever and seen a bad magician and said he's got it up his sleeve, like these guys telegraph their punches. It's just so easy to see. So there's only two possibilities then. Is like a lot of people, like even the Republicans too, okay? Either a lot of people really, really don't see it or they just don't want to see it. Like they don't want to admit it. They don't want, well, I wouldn't support a side that would do something like that. Yeah, me either, but you are, and I'm not, So it's that simple. You're supporting the bad guys right now, but you don't care just as long as you win. And there's no. I think we should. I almost ripped this thing off of me. I think we should have a court. I think we should assemble a court of the people. Six liberals, if we can find real liberals, and six of you right wingers out there, and the judge should be an independent, or judge should be the judge should be somebody who doesn't give a shit about either party, which I'm one of those people, definitely. But I'm not saying I should be the judge. But I wouldn't refuse it if you gave it to me, because I guarantee you I would give you a fair judgment. But it shouldn't be anybody from a party. There should be several judges, like the Supreme Court does. And this is a mock hearing, but think about it. Who better to judge what's going on than the people? Like if we are able to get 6 non-psychotic liberals and 6 non-psychotic, or schizophrenic Republicans together, and a couple of judges that have credibility, okay, some people that we know are going to be fair, are not going to pull for one side or the other, but they're going to rule in favor of the people, in favor of the people, in favor of the Constitution, in favor of justice, true justice, no racism, no nothing, just straight up facts. If we could put together a courtroom of those people right now during this crisis, I bet a lot of people would want to tune in to see what comes out of it, because I bet you anything we'd come out of there with solutions. We'd come out of there with unity. You know what I mean? As long as you keep the politicians and the media out of it, then we're going to do it like Americans. But we've been manipulated so badly in the past, let's say 60 years, that there is no up and down anymore. People, that's where that situational ethics is coming from. And people are just, it just seems like it's like Sunday football or something, or if it's like Roman Coliseum. They just want their team to win, and there's no morality. It's more like moral turpitude. I don't know. I was going to read this stuff. I mean, somebody chime in here. Just tell me what you see out there.
Well, I just see a constant barrage. It's they don't lay up for 1 second every time.
Media, you mean?
Yeah. It's all day, all night, and they don't lay up. Just kill, crush, destroy, impeach, deter. As soon as possible. And nobody's.
There's no rhythm to the way they spring their traps. You know what I mean? Like it's just so obviously a setup that guy couldn't do anything without being condemned, crucified. Doesn't matter what he does. There are people in this country right now that actually think that this president did no good at all. Can you believe that? There's people that really believe that truly in their hearts, and I don't want to hate those people. I just want to understand how how did they arrive at this, psychosis? Because it's
Well,
just a real willingness to deny the reality.
I don't know, man. If you're presented something and you don't have any real reason to disbelieve it, you know, and it doesn't occur to you, and then what do you expect? I mean, this if you got to look for the real meaning in things, and it's not sitting out there in front where everybody can openly interpret it. Half the everything I hear on the news is absolutely made up its mind. There isn't any debate. It's let's string his ass up now.
Yeah,
And
it's not news. It's actually news
let's
speak.
jail it.
It's think speak.
Let's imprison it. Let's incarcerate the man.
Yeah, they want to throw him in jail now. These people are out of their minds. You get it? That's lunacy.
But if you turn on the TV,
they're that desperate to get rid of him. They're that desperate. He's that much of a threat against the globalists. I mean, that makes me feel good that I voted for him. Not bad.
There's not much you can go on and say, "Am I the real? Is this the real? Is this reality I'm looking at, or is this some kind of interpretation?" You don't get that. You turn it on, and there it is in front of you, presented as the world. These guys are not saying, "Hey, it might be a possibility." They're saying, "Let's string him up now. Let's make sure he never runs for anything again as long as he lives."
And that's what Justice Roberts said. That leads me into this story, is that I'll go back to the D.C. rally in a minute, but think about this: who are the tyrants in this? They call Donald Trump a tyrant. There's people that call him Hitler and stuff. But who are the tyrants? What positive things has Trump done for us? He ran on his promises that he intended to keep them and then the jury's still out on the thousands of the rest. But he intended to keep every promise. And I mean, the people that helped to smash in his 4 years, it's just constantly smash, man. Whatever that is, that's noisy.
Yeah.
He ran on his promises. He gave us tax breaks for the regular people, which amounted to about anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 a year. He gave us prison, criminal, and justice reform. So I mean, so many wins this guy had. He got rid of the individual mandate. He erected opportunity zones. He took the acts to honor African Americans and other minorities that other presidents had the chance to do over the past 50 years and never did. I mean, what did he have to do to prove that he's been doing things for the African American community in New York and in other places for years, and they've done business with him for years too. All the boxing promoters and stuff like that over their 35, 40 years. I mean, he gave us the right to fight against Big Pharma. He reeled Big Pharma in. He signed the right to try bill. Veterans, forget it. He did all kinds of stuff for veterans. I mean, I can sit here. I've got lists. I document all this stuff. I can go back and retrieve it all. The list is too long, really. I mean, it's about 30 pages of stuff that this guy has done in the past 4 years and before. And still, still what you'll get from someone who's irrational is they'll say, "But what about Trump University? Like we got him. He did something wrong." And I'm like, I don't even care right now about Trump. Who gives a shit? He didn't take us to one new war. Not one brand new war. He's the first president in years to not take us to another war. He took us from 7 to back. He reeled it in. He wants to, he doesn't want to be all over the world stomping into countries and shit like that and selling gear for the military and industrial complex. The guy's of peace, he wants peace. And he'd rather negotiate peace. But look at what's happened before him, in the past 20 years before him. They murdered Gaddafi. There's open slave markets in Libya now. So they hired South or African, mercenaries to go in there, and they ruined Libya. Libya was was one of the top countries in the world for caring for its people. The guy was brutal against criminals, or whatever. You know what I mean? They called him a dictator. Well, he was a dictator, but look what he did for the people. New couples would get several $1,000s of a dowry, and they'd get a house. The guy made Gaddafi made a commitment that everyone in Libya would have a home before even he got his parents a home. He said, before I give my family a home, there won't be any homeless people in Libya. That's what he did with their oil money. And instead, but what his crime? He wanted to deal in gold instead of the dollar. He didn't want to join the globalists. That's the and now I dare anybody to tell me that's wrong. What I just said. Go ahead, correct me. Tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I've been following the Middle East since right before they shot Gaddafi. I mean, before they Anwar Sadat. We were looking at the oil companies over there, because there was also some intel companies, like Royal Dutch Petroleum has always been like kind of an iffy company, because we obviously there was some intel in that company. You know what I mean? They were Royal Dutch Petroleum was an oil drilling equipment primarily, but they also own wells, I guess, or something. I don't know, but it's the same as Zapata in the 50s and 60s, and who knows how long. You know who Zapata is, dude?
Yeah.
Zapata Petroleum. You know who that is?
Not exactly. No.
Do you? You know who owns Zapata? You know whose boat was cruising around in the Caribbean?
The Bush.
While they were waiting to see if the insurgents, the revolutionaries in Cuba, they had pigs. They were supposed to lend support, but they sprung it on Kennedy, and this is my theory here. So this you can argue with, but I don't think Kennedy knew exactly what was going on. What I think they did is they put him in a pickle. Is the intel community that was like doing all these these false flags and shit like that. I think they put him in a pickle. They said, well, we're going. Send in the air support, and he's like, whoa. Do you think they said that Kennedy chickened out? That's what they said. They said that's why they killed him, right? Do you picture Jack Kennedy being somebody who can't make a decision? There's no fucking way that he said yes and then pulled back the air support. You prove it to me. I think that they had a plan, and what these guys did was jump the gun and wanted to drag him in to throw because he was going to be the scapegoat either way, right? He was going to be the scapegoat either way. So this intel thing goes all the way back. Well, it was George Bush Sr.'s boat. He called it the Barbara. That had a bunch of mercenaries on it, cruising all around the Caribbean. And what they did was when they heard there wasn't going to be any air support, they went right around and into the Gulf. It was a big old steamer or some kind of cargo ship, whatever, the Barbara. I don't know. It's not that big a ship. I can't remember. I read this stuff 30 years ago.
For all the nice boat and everything, he still. The first time I saw Barbara, I thought it was his mom.
Yeah, it was his wife.
Right. I mean, that was pretty scary.
It was named, and it had Zapata Petroleum. It was owned by Zapata Petroleum. So
she was.
So there we go. That's history repeating itself. There's Royal Dutch Petroleum in the Middle East, and then there's Zapata Petroleum in. Oh, hold on. Let me turn off these. Don't you? You're not going to do it again to me.
East India.
She crashed us the last time. Yes. What now?
The East India trade is sprouting.
Oh, are you talking about back in the 1600s or?
No, I'm talking about resurging now. It's coming back from the.
Really?
Well, no, I'm just saying that. It wouldn't surprise me if the same holding group was responsible.
Oh, I see what you're saying. The Dutch East Indies Corporation.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was about a half dozen of them. The first one to get a charter was the Dutch East Indies, and the British Crown had to give them a charter because otherwise they would have ended up at war with them. You know, 1601. We talked about that before, and then but immediately after that, like within a year, England had the British trading, East British trading, British trading, something like that. But anyway, going back to going back to where we were with this story, is that basically, I mean, he did a lot. He did a lot for us, and you might not have agreed with some of the campaign promises he made, but he pretty much tried to keep them all. I mean, I've never seen a president that's done that like that. You know, they usually forget all about you. If you're not white, I'm telling you, and this is how I always felt, and how we always felt, is that if you're not white, they'd forget about you right after the election. And in that sense, there is a lot of racism, because maybe you guys don't understand this, but like they always would court the vote of the minority. You know what I mean? And then you'd end up after the election, you'd be waiting for them to deliver on their promises of social justice or whatever it was, and it would disappear. Next time, guys, oh, we can't do that right now. Watch, you're going to see that now. AOC's already been. Oops, sorry. AOC's already been caught doing it. I don't know if you knew this or not, but I'm kind of. See, she paused it. Man. You can't step on these mice. Leave those
Man.
alone.
Man,
They Jimmy Dore's always been calling for this Medicare for all, and I'm a fan of it now. I think we should do that, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. I think we should have a Medicare mandate, because first of all, we need to have them get their hands out of Social Security and out of Medicare. They play with the Medicare budget and stuff, and it's the same thing that Hoffa and the mob did with the unions. The unions dues and stuff like that, and their insurance policies. There was a lot of money, and anytime you give these people access to a lot of money, there's going to be a lot of corruption. They should have never been allowed to touch Social Security. Social Security is not an entitlement. It's not welfare. It's a freaking insurance policy. So yeah, some people don't like it or whatever. We should have never done it. Well, we did it, and that's our system. And the reason it's going broke, is number one, fraud, and exploitation, and number two, I don't know which one's number one and number two, but also the politicians. They're allowed to mess with the money. How did that come about? Well, they voted themselves the authority. So how do you stop corruption when you're allowing it to go down at the very top? It's just got to stop, And so I'm on board. I'm a fan of the Medicare for medical coverage for all. But the thing is the last person on earth that you want managing it is the government. You don't want the government managing that. They can't even keep their pants on. They can't avoid committing crimes of moral turpitude. So I don't understand. How do we stop that? We should have a panel of Americans running that, that aren't paid. That, in other words, keep the money out of those things. If there's no money in it, no politician will have an interest. But now it's just all it is a free for all, carpetbagging.
Get as much money as you can get.
Everything they can get their hands on. And what they're doing is they're taking taxpayer money, and they're putting these foreign aid bills foreign aid packages in their bills, and they award them to a country, and then they get a kickback. It's laundered U.S. taxpayer dollars. That's what Biden and all of them are getting in their hands. That's where the money from Ukraine came and all that. It's a part of the billions of dollars packages of foreign aid we send. like we want to keep Russia out of Ukraine, so we're going to give you a lot of money. But in essence, the foreign diplomatic services are the bag men. They do the negotiating for us, and then once in a while, one of our leaders will have to go over there and do that. What, you're trying to go out? But that there's already proof, man. We've got proof that Biden got 14.7 million. There's documents, there's documents that prove it. It's not like this is some theory. So I just don't understand the disconnect. People have allowed the media to completely shape their minds so that they're impervious to hearing anything but what they expect to hear or what these people want them to hear. And I don't know how we're going to, that's harder to solve than anything else. If the people won't wake up, these guys are just going to continue to do whatever they want. There's a lot of news that I haven't covered. I guess maybe, because we're already in for an hour. And look, there's like the campaign finance stuff that's going on. There's the we can't let, the election. I mean, that's just insanity. It's insanity for somebody to think or believe that this election was what did he say? The most transparent, the most secure election ever. When somebody says something like that and it's a known liar, you just, what do you say to the people that are?
I can't imagine the system being any less secure right now. Can you?
No, I was never on board with computer balloting anyway. There's no reason in the age of the internet. There's no reason to have ballot machines at these remote locations. Instead, I could design them a machine system right now, hardware wise, and you could write the software. We could design them a system right now where they'd be voting online, as long as we had the ability to deal with the bandwidth. They could vote directly to, secure areas that count ballots and keep people out of the process. In other words, all they'd be doing is managing the people that are going in to vote. But on the same computer, even if they were going to do it with no paper, and in other words, how much more secure would it be, like, to vote through a web page or whatever, through a web portal that's encrypted. No one can see it, and when it gets to the tallying, no one's got access to that vote. They don't know what it is, so it goes. Everything just keeps them out. What are you doing, man?
Get that cat out of here.
Get that cat out of here. So
it's got problems.
You don't think it would be more secure to do it by some web portal or whatever? I mean, look at the government. Look at Social Security and welfare and stuff. Look at their portals, their web portals. Ain't nobody messing with them. They're doing most of that fraud is done mostly on paper.
Yeah, child support's pretty secure.
Man, try to get into the Social Security website and you don't have your password. You have to call. You have to call to establish that account. And every time when they send you like a notice or whatever, they send you like a 1 hour some kind of code or whatever. It's just
big prophylactic too, probably.
Yeah, it's just. So why are we still using Venezuelan ballot machines? I mean, this is just all planned, dude. I'm sorry, but I mean, it's not because of what we just said, but it's just so weak. It's so flimsy. The evidence is every freaking where, and they're saying, what evidence? They're like up here looking above it, and as long as they never get it in front of a real court, they can keep saying that. What evidence? What evidence? This has been debunked. Well, let's talk about that for a minute. Let's talk about Justice Roberts. And this isn't something that they're going to try to tell us that they didn't know or something. That's like as ridiculous as it gets. Um, did you know that they supposedly have a photo of Judge Roberts at some very casual thing in a love seat or something with posing with Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's, whatever you want to call her, but she was the one that helped him recruit the young girls and stuff like that. I mean, Justice Robert was heard to have had a recently with like just a few weeks ago, because see that this court compromise. There's no, I don't didn't Trump appoint Roberts or no? I don't know. Maybe I might be wrong. Never mind that. But the whole idea that this guy has basically pushed the rest of the Supreme Court by telling them, hey, we don't want to see the country in turmoil and rioting, so we're not going to see this case. What? Yeah, they conflict of interest at every turn here. There's the governor of interest at every turn here. There's the governor of Georgia, who I'm so disappointed in Georgia. I thought we were all about justice, man, and all about the truth, and First and Second Amendment, and I've never seen anything like it. So, well, anyway, I mean, we didn't get to cover as much as we'd like to tonight. I know I can see you guys are pretty tired, so we're gonna call it. I'll call it a night, I guess. We've been on for about an hour and 15 minutes. I've got a lot of stuff to cover, so I may just later on start recording and just upload an episode or something, a non-live episode, because there's so much information that I've processed in the past couple weeks since that we've been going nuts here, and I've got a lot of good stuff that I'd like to share with people, and it's very important stuff, because I spent, like, the thing on Justice Roberts and Maxwell. I went and I tracked down the photo. I tracked down the statements. There's other statements right now about how that the Supreme Court ruled the New York lockdown was unconstitutional, but there's nobody that's enforcing the Supreme Court decision. I mean, so even when they make good decisions, it seems like they have someone that's able to shoot it down. So, I mean, there's so much stuff, you guys. I got so much stuff. I want to discuss this stuff. I want people that disappoint, or I want people that disagree with me to come on and discuss it. Let's figure it out. Let's talk about solutions to problems. When you just stay in conflict all the time, no matter what the outcome of that conflict is, you're forwarding an agenda, and it ain't your agenda. I'm telling you, it's not my agenda either. What they do is they keep us in conflict, and they benefit, not us. So anytime, I was telling him earlier, anytime the people are losing, that's a problem. Tell them, Mama. Tell them what's going on.
Extremely effective.
Huh?
Divide and conquer is extremely effective.
You better believe it.
And
that's what they're doing.
Dark.
And you know how crazy it is for me to be on the side of the Republicans? You know how uncommon that is for me? I've been dogging these motherfuckers for 40 years, man. Since, what, Reagan, okay, 30 years. Let's call it 30, but certainly more than 30. But, so, since before the internet, I mean, I used to get the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, in two of my jobs.
Let me say this about that.
Yeah, I mean, you could not like Reagan, but as far as being a president and stuff like that, that was as much like Trump as anything. You know who was president during that time? George Bush had his arm stuffed up Reagan's ass to the elbow. He basically, you know what they did in '90? They invaded Panama. They, in order to squash, that whole the whole thing, the Iran-Contra and stuff. They invaded Panama, and they went down there and grabbed what's his name, Pineapple. It was Operation Pineapple.
Noriega.
Huh?
Noriega.
Yep. Isn't it funny how history repeats itself, where you have basically an intel operative, because Noriega was an intel asset. What's his name over there in the Middle East? Saddam Hussein. He was a military asset. You know that, right? They helped. Osama bin Laden's family is very close to the Bush family. They vacation together. Let me put it that way. Back in the day, yeah. And then there's also the lineage I told you guys about, which I don't want to get into that because people would say, "Oh my God, there they go." They're going off into what's his name, David I. Kickland or whatever. No, we're not talking about lizard people here. We're talking about, if you don't know who Obama's mother is and you don't know who she was related to, then you really don't know shit about politics. Because in order to know politics, you have to know the connections. If you don't know that Obama's mother is related to Prescott Bush, then you really haven't been at this game very long. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about half the time. You know what I mean? So you can parrot talk points or whatever, but if you don't know the connections and you haven't really done your homework, like treated this with the serious, given it treatment, what I call the proper treatment of a subject, then why talk about it? Like, why, if it's not interesting, go bowling. Leave it, because you have that freedom. Americans have the freedom and the choice to disregard their patriotic duty. You have an obligation to be involved in some way. Now, once I, learned that, I got involved. And that meant I needed to know what the hell I was talking about or know what I was doing. So, I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I certainly haven't, it's not like I haven't been digging through everybody's dresser drawers, all the way back. And it was primarily Republicans, I can't stand them. It's not their principles that I can't stand. It's the disregard for the people. That's what I can't stand about it. I love free trade. Capitalism is a good word. It's not a bad word. Corrupt capitalism is what people are calling capitalism now. That's not capitalism. That's not free trade. That's what I call corrupt corporations. Corrupt corporations, and basically a corporate.
No checks and balances whatsoever.
Yeah, they do whatever they want, and they're shitty environmentalists sometimes, because industrialists primarily will lobby the right. It's not our fault. It's not Republican. It's not our fault. It's not Republicans on the street's fault. You said, well, you vote for that. Well, let me tell you what's coming for us right now. If these idiots do get into power, the Green New Deal, Agenda 21, globalism. You think for a minute. Basically, the whole carbon tax thing. This is a scam. This is like it was probably made up by Al Gore, because he's the best scam artist in Washington by far. Al, have I got a deal for you, Gore?
Bush.
I can't stand these people, man. When I say that they all should hang, every corporate criminal, every corrupt politician that they find in Washington should hang by the end of a rope. There should be no tolerance of corruption in Washington, especially until we get a hold on the country again and go by what we intended to do, which was all men are created equal, and everybody's got a chance to be independent, be an individual, and pursue their happiness. And don't tell me we can't run a system that is free and good for the earth, because people by nature want to take care of each other. They're not like corporations and people that make a lot of money and wear suits and ties every day, their thing is not people. They're very few and far between, you know. But human beings, like Americans especially, that's how we got where we are, is by helping each other. Not. I'm not talking about the colonists, and I'm not talking about the fighting and the wars and all that shit. I'm talking about people. Like if you see somebody laying on the road, you don't fucking walk by 'em. I mean, I learned the story of the Good Samaritan when I was a little kid, right?
Right.
So at our very core, we love. You know, we're human beings. At our very core, we care about each other, and we're supposed to take care of each other. And so there's the corruption of that, of the corruption meaning money and banks and lending and the whole thing, industrialism. Whenever that's done whenever that's done and the people are not benefiting, as a matter of fact, it's done at their, what would you call it? You say at their expense, let's say. And when it's done at humanity's expense, then that's that's morally wrong. That's not what that's supposed to be about. Even when you start a corporation, which I never agreed with that it should be a person, but even when you start a corporation, that corporation should be about people, because that's what it's made up of, not paper. And that's what America is. America is not a country. America is not the land. America is not the government. Certainly not the government. America is the people. People. That's what makes up America. So that's my message today. Is like, what are we doing hating each other in the media right now? People in social media are just attacking each other. And I've had to like throw down a couple comments today. It's like I got banned from Twitter the day before yesterday. Did you hear what I said about to Biden? Biden said something really interesting, bear comment, and everybody else is thinking here. This guy Duchamps, Rook, I love that. I love that comment. Blockchain rolling, problem solved. Exactly. On the screen right here, which I don't know if you can see my cursor or not, but I'm going to show you guys this, this post I threw up. And I'm sorry, but he deserved it, So I don't think they can see that, can they? Maybe I should copy it. Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be on there very much longer. I'm bailing out. It's
They're doing some hard mining, aren't they?
yeah, they're silencing people. That's another story. I have a bunch of stuff. Like I've been going through these stories like crazy, and and then I have to go follow the leads to find out, to make sure they've got some basis in truth. And
what do you think about Twitter cutting Trump down?
how can some technocrat, some corporate technocrat silence the president of the United States? How do you do that and somehow think, like, yeah, man, how do you do that? How do you allow some idiot in Silicon Valley to just decide that our president shouldn't be heard? Like, what if we did that to Obama or to Clinton or to Bush or anyone? What if just somebody, what if you and I owned a multi-billion-dollar corporation and we just decided that, you know what, I don't like what he says and I'm going to silence him off of my social platform? People would pull their hair out, dude. But with him, they've got these people hating him so irrationally that they somehow think it's okay. Do you think that that's not going to happen to you if you can do that to the president or to anyone else in this country? That's not what this country was supposed to be about. If you don't like what he says, if somehow it bothers you, then you're supposed to turn it off. The guy should say whatever he wants. I mean, same with Obama, still talking. Obama, who's not even in office, is out there giving press conferences or statements, and the media splashes them everywhere. And it's basically to undermine the presidency. And but it was the pinnacle of I told you so for me. to the world, like to everybody who disagrees with my politics and befriends me, and all of a sudden, have 40-year relationships evaporate because I'm a Trumper or whatever. Yeah, and then next year, when I'm back to killing the Republicans, when I'm back to snarling and ripping their throats out like I've done for 35 years, I don't know, what will they think? Because all of the Republicans are going to say, you're a traitor. I thought you were pro-Republican. No, motherfuckers, I never voted Republican in my life. I've never voted Republican in my life till Trump switched parties and seized the Republican Party. That's what he did. He seized it. How do I know this? Well, how about because almost like 2/3 of the Republicans were against him. They didn't want him to get that nomination. These people are despotic. The politicians are psychopaths. This guy, no matter what they say about him, he's not a politician. He's a real estate shark or whatever. I don't care what you want to call him. Call him whatever you want. They make him look like a choir boy. Washington makes Donald Trump look like a choir boy. I mean, think about it. Think about it. Think about the fact that he helped get Epstein busted. People want to say that because he had a picture, but this guy greets the asshole at his resort, and they accuse him of colluding with him. They want to say that Trump, was at the pedo island too, and that's true. He did go there, but I have the story firsthand of what went down, and you know what? I'm not even going to say. Go ahead and believe that stupid ass shit. Just remember, the prosecutor that originally filed the case against Epstein, when he was interviewed, there was a press conference right there. This is back in, when was it? It was in 2016 or 2015 or whatever. They were interviewing this prosecutor, and they said, what about Trump? What connection does Trump have to Epstein? And you know what that prosecutor said? He turned around and looked right at the camera, and he said, if it wasn't for Donald Trump, we wouldn't have had this case. He said he was the only one that called me back out of anybody that we called. I didn't even have to subpoena him. I didn't have to depose him. He called me back on the phone and said, I got all the time you need. I got all the time you need of me. I'll cooperate in any way I can. And anyway, it's just amazing that what the media did when he said that. He said if it wasn't for Donald Trump, we wouldn't have had that case. He said to these people, if he's the one that helped me put the information together. And then when Trump was coming into the White House, Epstein was not going to get away. They were letting Epstein off because he's got something on everybody. I'm saying if he doesn't have anything on these people, then I want to know why they weren't doing their job. Dozens of Democrats, dozens of Republicans. Bill Barr. I want to know if Trey Gowdy's ever got what skeletons he's got, because he's one of the best lawyers in Washington, and he completely disappeared after before the impeachment. Jim Jordan has always been there plugging away. I don't even want to say McConnell's name, because that guy, that's one of the politicians that he should be fully investigated and hung by the neck if he was a traitor. And there's a lot of documentation that says he is. There's too many to go. We could go through. It would take us all night. Well, we've already been on this for an hour and a half, so it's time to stop. I guess I might. Maybe I'll do another one, but not tonight, or not this morning, I should say. It's 1:30 in the morning. I like the morning. We're used to staying up all night because we're musicians. So we and then before that, it was the fire department, 24/48. So I feel like I love flying at night. I don't know. I just love it. But maybe tomorrow night, or maybe during the day or something, we just need to get this information out there. And I know you guys want to hear it at least. And the way I put it together, it's not partisan, man. I don't care. I really don't. Seriously. If they were, put it this way, I'll vote for the least evil, because that's the only way to get anywhere. It's the only way to make an improvement. if we're going to do a third party, then we really need to do a third party and just like broom them all. You know what I mean? Either independent or libertarian, whatever. We had a chance. You had a chance to elect Ron Paul, the only honest, truly honest, only honest politician in Washington. Really, the guy's impeccable. His record is impeccable. And what they do, they try to label him a racist or some person that freaking some kind of bulletin. I don't know what. I read it. I looked at it. I was like, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I got other shit to do, and you're bothering with this shit." Anyway, I want to thank you guys if you're watching now or if you watch later. Thank you. Let us know how we can do better. Let us know if you can help us organize and get this information out there. I really need people to go through this information with me. I'm overwhelmed. There's way too much to process. So as you can see, I probably blew through about maybe 3 or 4 of these stories, and I did not cover any one of them completely. I've got a ton of information on each one of them. And I've got like 5 or 6 other stories that are just as important. And then after that, I've got like a dozen stories that connect to these, that support, like you'd never think of it. But then I'm going to remind you of, hey, remember when this happened? Because that's my thing, is details. And I've got where these things fit together and who's benefiting and who's not. And I can tell you, you and me are not. So thanks for tuning in.
Listen, it's not clear, okay? You got to remember that. It's just not clear-cut case. Your facts are not, they're not readily apparent. You have to keep putting them out in front of us, because it's not easy to tell the difference when you don't know what you're doing, you know?
What do you mean?
When you don't know the facts, it's hard to tell the difference.
But what they do is they have us all reacting to headlines, like everybody, the headline spaz. You know what I mean? And yeah. I hate even the because I just ignore the headlines now. I just go to like, okay, what's the topic? All right, it's that topic. So, you know, the big dramatic headlines like Kraken, we're going to release the crack. I mean, come on, man. You know, we're grown-ups, and they treat us like we're kids. Like, oh, look at the pretty flashy ladies. You know, it's just like, really, I'm over it now. But it used to be really like an insult. Like that's why I hate television. That's why I never watched it. You know, we watched a little bit when we were kids, but man, you know, I told you, man, there was about 20 years where I don't even remember what my bedroom looked like. I don't remember what the TV looked like. I remember what kind of stereo we had though. But anyway, we keep saying we're going to go and we don't. But all right,
play some music.
Yeah. Well, if we do a show tomorrow night, you'll know by 11 because I'll throw the music on and then I'll come in at midnight. And if you think we should do it earlier, we're definitely here to listen, and just give us some suggestions and help us with this information. Help, you know, sign on to help us process all these stories. Like I'll teach you where to get the info. I mean, there's a lot of great places to get information. And what I do is I assign the credibility by who lies to me and who doesn't. Like, for instance, I've said this before. Judicial Watch in 20 years has never lied to me. And people want to say, well, they're a conservative. I don't give a shit. They crush Republicans. They crush Democrats. Whoever's corrupt is going to get it. And if you're a Democrat and you can't stand to hear something bad about your team, but then don't, you know, okay, so close your eyes and shut them tighter. But don't accuse the guy of lying, because they, you know, I'll give you $100 if you show me where Judicial Watch has lied to people in the past 20 years. Tell me, send me the story, because I've been following them for about 20 years and they've never lied to me yet. Dan Bongino has never lied to me yet. I've never met a man who can beat a horse like he can. I mean, a dead horse. You know, I've never met anybody who can. What?
Has NBC ever lied to you?
Oh my God! Come on, man. Okay, who else hasn't? Black conservative patriot. He's dramatic, but he's not a liar. Who else? Jimmy Dore. Okay, Jimmy's not a liar. Jimmy has got integrity, and he's an awesome dude. Like, he's my kind of liberal. He's the kind of liberal I would be. I'm a little more conservative fiscally than he is, and I'm way small government. I don't think it's the government's job to do a lot of things like marriage and it's none of their business. None of their business who's in your bedroom. It's none of their business what you're doing with who. As long as you're not killing anybody, you're pursuing happiness, then it shouldn't be any of their business. So I believe that government should stay out of your business. That's so Jimmy Dore and I are very well aligned, and he is so awesome at he really rips people's shit up. But he, like, for instance, he's gone so long, like, he just can't give Trump like, he can't give Trump a compliment, but he can't lie either. So he's like, has a kind of an interesting way of going around it. But still, he dogs the people who are corrupt, including every freaking buddy. Look at her. Look at her head. Look at her. Why do you do that? Why do you try to press the buttons on it? Jimmy Dore's an awesome guy. I would get along with him. He's a comedian too. What are you gonna do? He just rips people's ass up.
Cat.
What?
We're gonna shave that cat. Is what we're gonna do.
That's great. Yeah, tell the people that they're really gonna love us for that.
Yeah, catch him first.
Okay. Well, anyway, on that note,
you're obviously
he wants to shave it. Okay. Well, thank you for tuning in, and like I said, I'd like you to participate. I don't want to just sit here and rant about any one thing. If we can't like make some kind of progress or be productive in some way, then I don't see really why we're doing this. If you followed me on Facebook, I got a couple thousand followers, not that many, and we've got our pain groups, got a few thousand followers there. We've been active in some of the causes, like patients, right to try, which Trump signed. Hello. Then we could really use your participation, because it's our obligation, first of all. But second of all, we won't. As long as we leave it up to them, don't expect anything to get done. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you maybe tomorrow night. Gino, see you maybe tomorrow night. Gino, you want to say anything to the nice people other than that you wanted to shave their cat?
I'm just entertained by the way it comes over here and rolls about the equipment. But it's fine. It's fine. I'm just having a little bit of a laugh. I've never bring you.
We're gonna have kittens, and I'm gonna send you 5 of them.
Oh dear. Well, see, now I've never shaved a cat.
What you're saying?
I've never shaved a cat, so we're good there. We're okay.
Oh, some sort of George is saying.
Here we go. Ready?
Yeah.
Oh, biggie.
Tony, talk to the people for a minute.
Say so.
Just get ready for the
The
20th.
rock.
Get ready for the 20th.
What's the blue mist behind you? Have to go with?
Let me tell you something. We're not over. It's not over yet. Yeah, there's stuff that I wanted to get to with you guys that I couldn't. There's a whole military thing happening right now.
Donald's got to turn himself in, isn't he?
What?
Donald's going to have to turn.
Because man, the show notes are like packed. I used every character here, but hold on. I'm going to tell you right now, and then I'll just tell you the flashy title, and then you'll be able to. Hold on. U.S. war machine masquerading as a country. Really heavy stuff coming through, man. I can't. This is so heavy. You'll see it. It's going to be in the show notes. That's all. Just go to the show notes, and if for some reason it's not, I'll put it in the comments. But there's what's happening right now is that they've got indictments on a bunch of people, and that I know is true. They've got indictments on probably 10 people in the last administration. This is why they got desperate. They had to do this on the 6th. rally, and there's actually military people, like 200 top military people, that are like, hey, we can't let this happen. So it's not over, dude. I don't know what's going to happen. All I know is they usually use us as cannon fodder. Don't fight each Republican, whoever you are. There's no reason to attack your fellow countrymen. No, you're not going to accomplish anything. But again, just read down the show notes, and you'll see military intelligence has exposed the operation, and it's by a true conservative, which you may not like conservatives. Some of them suck, but don't attack the messenger. Just check out the information, because there's military people interviewed here. So if you can't get over your bias to consider the facts, then yeah, you probably are partially schizophrenic and believing something it's your obligation. And if you don't want to pull off your obligation, then you really can't complain about what happens. You have no complaint.
Well, run the cat by it. See what she's got. Let's get the female perspective. You know what I mean?